the First Point Collegiate Challenge, brought to you by Nike. It is an amazing matchup here for match number for the 11th ranked Stanford Cardinal. At the outside position, you got two big cannons in Alex Rutman and Teo Snui. But then wait, there's more on the right side. Opposite hitter Moses Wagner. Running it down in the middle, our middle blockers, Kumana Carrera and Luke McFall. And the setter running the show, the quarterback of the court, that would be Ryan Gant. And Stanford, we could be seeing a two libero system, but the first libero will be number 24, Kai Schmidt, and the second libero is Evan Porter. And looking at the other side of the net for the 16th ranked Ball State Cardinal, starting outside, number 3, Will Basilio, along with Patrick Rogers, is the one to watch here offensively. At the opposite pin, you got number 16, Ryan Lewis, and in the middles, you've got Braden Savitsky-Lind and Jacob Surratt. While running the court, Lucas Machado, they too are going to a two libero system. Look for number 17, Victor Scherer, the Brazilian, to start off and get a lot of the reps. But then you may see Adir Ashush. And with that, you're looking at Patrick Rogers, and we're ready to go for first whistle. And let's bring it here in the Phoenix Convention Center. Ball's off the cable, picked up by Basilio. Quick attack by Surratt. Flown back by Gant, and Wagner knocks off the block. Rogers' first swing, dug and poked through the block by Machado. And I believe the ball is called dead on the card. Nike. First serve, Lucas Machado, the 6'5" setter from Canela, Brazil. Gant flows back over towards Snui. Overhand dig by Basilio. McFall and Rogers gets stuck in a joust. A shove shot off the block and delivering high. Teo Snui.
Teo Snui taking the ball with two hands and pushing it in the outside hand of the blocker. Off the hands, out of bounds.
That brings Teo Snui back to serve, the 6'6" senior outside hitter from Berkeley, California. Great jump serve picked up by Rogers. Give and go for the downtown pound.
Rob, I do not think you want to leave Patrick Rogers all by himself with no block. He is legit.
Patrick Rogers has got one of the whippiest arms here, actually in the nation, and that is why he's representing the USA with the red, white, and blue in international competition. Rogers on the hybrid, Snui on the pass, Gant in the middle of McFall, and McFall starts it off nice and early with a blast.
McFall came around and made it look like he was going to thumb down and just whipped it back across his body. Caught Machado standing up.
McFall going back to the service line, the 6'9" redshirt junior middle from Pleasanton, California. Slow step on the hybrid over towards Scherer, set by Machado, and Rogers hanging and banging on the big.
This is going to be an interesting match because Rogers is great, and Lewis, the opposite, is a high flyer also. Stanford has three really good pin hitters that get most of their kills.
And with that, Jacob Surratt goes back to the service line. The Californian on the starting lineup for the Cardinals. Rotman's first swing, dug, picked up by Basilio, back over towards Lewis, and a solo stuff for a 10-finger discount by Alex Rotman.
You know, last night we saw Lewis hitting a lot of balls cross court, and that's what Rotman took away, was the cross court shot.
Going back to service, Moses Wagner for the Stanford Cardinals, 6'6" senior opposite. Flowing back over towards Lewis, and he waffles it long. No top spin or snap on it.
The Stanford Cardinal block is definitely clued in on where Lewis is.
Wagner back to the service line for Stanford. Wagner, not a stranger to getting the player of the match honors here at the First Point Collegiate Challenge, as Will Basilio goes cross court on the crush. And that brings Ryan Lewis back to serve for Ball State. Lewis, the 6'9" sophomore opposite hitter, misses just long. So both these teams going for it nice and early here in set number one.
If the
Ball
pass,
State.
if the pass is near the net, they're going to set the middle. If not, probably setting Rogers out of the back row.
Alex Rodman stepping back to the service line. The 6'6", a redshirt junior outside from Santa Barbara. Goes thumb down towards Rogers. In the middle is Savitsky Lin. Recovered by the Cardinal. Free ball picked up by Savitsky Lin. Low ball by Basilio. Dug by Wagner. Saved by Gant. Free ball goes outside the antenna and out of play. Fantastic effort by Stanford's crew on that side of the net. Unfortunately, not enough oomph to get over. That brings Basilio back to serve for the Cardinal. Ball's passed by Snooey. Right side attack by Wagner is blocked up top. Rogers and Savitsky Lin with a return package.
That block was well set. Closed the block and nowhere to go with the ball.
Basilio for Ball State. Doing some time with the Volleyball Canada or the Canadian national team. Snooey on the free ball on the broken play. And knocking it down in the middle is Braden Savitsky Lin, or BSL.
You know, Stanford is committing 2 on the middle. That's showing you how much respect they have for the Ball State middles.
Makes our score 7-5 here in set number 1. Solid hit, but goes off the cable. Snooey on the pass. Carrera dug by Machado. Scherer handsets outside to Rogers. Rogers going for the off-speed roll winner.
Boy, that is an experienced kid to be able to cut the ball back and find the sideline like that.
8 serving to 5. As you look over there at Patrick Rogers with that smooth flow attack. Basilio takes a little off it. Snooey, tight pass. Gant gets underneath it. Shoved down up top. Snooey on a 2-hand dunk.
They are using that shot a lot. Now, since Larry Hino brought it in a couple of years ago from France, playing for UC Irvine.
And back to service, Kamana Carrera for the Stanford Cardinals. The 6'8" sophomore middle from Mission Viejo. Bumps at the outside. Rogers goes thumb down, but goes too wide. Point going to Stanford. 7 looking at 8.
Rogers doesn't miss that 4-to-4 shot very often. He's pretty good with it.
Carrera, great performance in last night's match, going 5 against the Ramblers of Loyola. Back set over towards Lewis, and Lewis throwing down with authority.
It was a pretty nice catch by Carrera.
Well, I think he just was hoping he didn't get injured because there is no block up on that. Point going to Ball State as they go up here at 9-7. Savitsky Lin off the cable, passed by Snooey. Big to Rodman. Rodman dug by Lewis, but unfortunately, Basilio cannot control it for going into the sideboards.
They're using, as long as they stay in system, Stanford uses all 4 hitters, 1 back row always.
Stepping back to the service line is Ryan Gant, getting the starting nod for 2 matches in a row. Rogers, and look out below. No block, and Ryan Lewis detonating.
That's the trouble committing 2 on the 1. You bring your left side blocker in to block on the 1. There's nobody on Lewis, and he's a beast, as you can tell.
Jump spin picked up by Rotman. Out of system play set by Schmidt, and Wagner able to drive it through the block. Point going to Stanford. 9 serving to 10. Snooey going back to serve for Stanford. Snooey last night finished off with 15 kills, hitting .329. And busting it into the gut. Jacob Surratt with the bomb.
So next play, Stanford drops off the commit in the middle, blocks 1 blocker in the middle, and Ball State bombs the middle at him.
Rogers back to the service line for Ball State. And drops an ace on the end line with the end line love. And with that, Rogers gets his first ace of the night, his 9th of the season. And we got a timeout taken by Stanford, trailing 12-9 here in set number 1. As we go, Patrick Rogers at the service line, winding up, putting heat on it. Saved by Wagner. Free ball up and over, picked up by Rogers. Machado outside to Basilio, and Basilio hits it long. Wagner dropping his hands as soon as Basilio took that swing.
And Ryan Gant dropped his head. Would have hit it in the head. Smart play.
Wagner, easily one of the higher volley IQ athletes on the court. As we take a look at Luke McFall at the service line for Stanford. McFall to Rogers, going against the grain. Lewis knocks it off the left knee of McFall. And the Ball State attackers picking on that defender, the middle blocker coming up in area 5.
Middle blocker serves, goes to back to the left defense. Expect it to go there.
Jacob Surratt goes to the corner over toward Schmidt. And Rotman picking up where he left off last night.
A nice hit. He's falling backwards. He found the outside blocker's elbow. Hard to turn your elbow. It's a cylinder no matter what.
Moses Wagner going back to the service line, trailing 11-13. Wagner at 6'6", goes over towards Rogers. Machado on the big, and Rogers, welcome to the bounce house. Ladies and gentlemen, Rogers with a levitation. Ryan Lewis going back to the service line for Ball State. Little top spin serve picked up by Rotman. And Snooey comes out of the back row, misses long. No one calling for a touch by the Stanford side. So with that, Ball State going up 15-11. Lewis last night had a little trouble with the UCLA block, but it looks like he's back here in action, playing well here against the Cardinal. Hand dig by Basilio, back set to Lewis. Lewis sneaks by the block, good save by Rotman. Free ball up and over, picked up by Snooey. Machado with the acrobatics, and Lewis with a detonation. Machado going for that 180 spin midair to get that ball over to Lewis on that D ball.
Machado seems to be watching that left side block from Stanford, and wherever they go, he's setting against that flow.
Lewis again, and make that an ace for Ryan Lewis with the heater for Lewis. That's ace and number 4 on the season, first of the night. We've got another timeout taken by Stanford as they trail 17-11 here in set number 1. Charlie, as you've been observing the rhythm of play here, what do you observe? Or what do you have for us?
Well, Ball State is really, really dynamic and controlling the ball. Machado's moving the ball to his best 2 hitters most of the time, depending on what the block is giving them. Stanford has chosen to commit double on the middle. If they do that, they back set to Lewis. If they spread block, they set the middle. And then Patrick Rogers is just legit. Everywhere he is good. The three pin hitters for Stanford that are usually dominant. Last night they all were in double figures in kills. Haven't really gotten tuned in yet. So let's look for them to kick it in now.
Well, with that, Patrick Rogers, 4 kills with 1 error, hitting .500, leading the way for the Ball State Cardinals. But also sharing 4 kills is Ryan Lewis. However, hitting .286. So he's finding his groove after last night.
Well, it's a pretty good. He got stopped twice early, got blocked twice, and since that time he's 4 for 5 hitting.
And with that, Ball State first squad back out on the court. And they are reeling and ready to go. Lewis going back to the service line for Ball State. Stands at 6'9" from Surprise, Arizona, Shadow Ridge High School. Just a short drive away from here.
That's why he's got the #1 fan club here.
Lewis, timeout by head coach John Costi of Stanford. Let him think about his momentum out of his swing.
These guys need to clean that serve right after the timeout up a little bit. That ball can't be missed.
A little delay here on the court as checking in for the first time is Ryan DeRoss, 6'3", senior outside from Gilroy, California. In for serving and defensive purposes. DeRoss winds up, picked up by Scherer, broken play, hands up by Basilio. Lewis goes into the net. That ball, as it came off of Basilio's hands, had so much spin on it from the not so simultaneous contact. Or shall we call it chowder? There is no more chowder anymore. There's no doubles called anymore, Charlie.
I know.
DeRoss, Basilio to Machado on the out-of-system play. Basilio off the head of Snooey because he got up so high, is able to tool it out of play. 18-13.
That could not feel good. He got Snooey right on the nose.
Well, 6'5" outside. Basilio back to serve from Ballinafad, Ontario, Canada. And Machado going to his finesse game. He points to his head, said, see, I think. But setters always think. They got to run the show, and he's just showing that he doesn't have to go to the heater.
If he doesn't have to go to the heater, if he doesn't show, if he always shows it, then why is he pointing to his head?
Rotman, perfect pass over to Gant, right side, Wagner, and Wagner with a rise and rip off the block.
Wagner's got to be their go-to guy. He's got to step it up and get a lot more swings. He's only had, that's his 4th swing so far. They need him much more into their offense.
Back to serve as he checks in is Luke Morrison, the 6'4" freshman from Irvine, California. Scherer to Machado. Savitsky, Lynn, Doug. Joust went out top. Look, McFall winning out at the top of the net. Lewis blocked in the net, covered by Savitsky Lynn, set by Lewis, trap set, and wiping it off the block is Patrick Rogers.
Rogers has every shot, every situational shot. He knows what to do.
That was the use, abuse, and leave him confused.
You know, Moses Wagner almost picked it up, though. As soon as he saw it happening, he took off into the crowd over there.
Braden Savitsky Lynn back to serve for Ball State, 20-14. Little topspin serve. And pulling the triggers, Luke McFall on that 31 set.
Yeah, nice. They had been running right at the setter. They moved it away into the gap and shot the 3 at him with a wide open space.
Savitsky Lynn made the right step, but didn't get a quick enough jump to put it back as we look at Ryan Gant at the service line. Gant, the 6'5" sophomore setter from Newport Beach, serves that one into the net, bringing Lucas Machado to serve for the Cardinals. Machado on the evening so far, 12 assists. Goes cross court. Rotman handles it. Backside set over towards Snooey, and Snooey going back to basics with a cross-court attack. Snooey with that ball gets his 3rd kill of the night. Hitting 400 as he steps back to serve. And jump serve misses about 2 inches long. Point going to Ball State, 22-16. And that brings Patrick Rogers to the service line, the Jersey boy on the Ball State squad. Rutherford, New Jersey is where he hails from. Beach volleyball player at heart, or outdoor volleyball player at heart. Ball's picked up by Surratt outside over towards Basilio. Denied, covers his own ball. Machado right side. Lewis blocked up top by Rotman. Machado back to Lewis. Swatted up top by McFall. Covered by Scherer. Machado back to Lewis. Third time around. And he delivers into the corner.
That ball had backspin on it. He had no approach. He just went up and waffled it right to the back corner.
23 serving a 16 on the extended rally. And the Ball State faithful liking what they're seeing. They're on their feet already. Still only 23. Snooey, perfect pass. McFall dug by Rogers. Machado flicking the bick. And Machado lighting it up. That brings us to our first set point for Ball State.
Watch this. Rogers runs right over into the 30 area and hits it into the hole between the blockers.
Patrick Rogers has got some levitation and detonation action. Rogers bangs away with everything he has. Picked up by Schmidt. Right side over to Wagner. And Wagner going ballistic off the block. 17 served to set point number 2. And checking in for the first time, Carson Neisel, the 6'6" junior outside from Arvada, Colorado. Neisel mainly in for serving and defensive purposes for Stanford. And he serves that one into the net to hand the first set over to the Ball State Cardinals as they now lead our best of 5 matchup. 1-0 over the Stanford Cardinal here in our first point collegiate challenge presented by Nike. More coming your way here on ESPN+. For the U23 team that received the silver medal this last summer, but what's an anomaly about Patrick Rogers, he's not only representing the USA at the U23 indoor, he's also for the USA Volleyball Beach program.
Yep.
So, you know, if you talk to head coach Mike Iandolo, he has to say, hey, Patrick, you be you on the court, your beach freestyle, but you be you, but when it...
I don't think he has any problem with his game. He seems to be handling it pretty well.
Yeah, I actually worked some beach volleyball tournaments. I always wonder, is that the same Rogers that we see on the inside? And sure enough, it is. Playing doubles tournaments on the sand over in Southern California. Snooey and McFall denied at the net by Surratt and Rogers.
That ball was passed way over on the right side of the court, and they ran the quick right into the double block.
And Machado back to the service line for Ball State. Does a little chopper southpaw swing. Snooey on the shove, blocked up top by Surratt. Saved by the Cardinals. Set up and over again. Scherer on the cleanup. Back over to Lewis. Lewis through the uprights of Snooey.
Well, he outside approach. He's coming in. The ball's on his left shoulder. He just brings it back to the sideline off the side of his hand and off the outside blocker's hand out of bounds.
And with that, Machado steps back to the service line, adds a little more pace to it, but goes wide and into the Stanford bench. And that brings Ryan Gant back to the service line for Stanford. Gant with 9 assists, leading his Cardinal team to 304 hitting percentage so far. And Lewis thumping it cross court off of Schmidt. Point going to Ball State.
He had the seam in the block, and he held it by looking in line and then cutting it right inside the block.
And Patrick Rogers back to serve again for Ball State. Goes to a hybrid. He's showing the full inventory of serves as we see Wagner hit that one long.
You know, you got a big block in front of you with Lewis, and he just tried to avoid the block and went over the top and didn't get a good snap on it. He avoided the block all right.
Rogers mixing up again, full spin on the jump. Snooey denied but covered by Rotman. McFall denied up top by Lewis. A soft tip by McFall was not gonna get that by Lewis, who's on SWAT patrol.
I don't think Lewis jumped. he stood there and reached over and blocked it. He's so light. Arm span, he told me this morning in the elevator, arm span is 7'2". 7'2".
Rogers, another spin serve, pass by Rotman. Outside, over to Wagner, and Wagner lets a little furious like blast off his shoulder. 2 is serving a 5. Snooey back to the service line for the Cardinal. Perfect pass by Rogers. In the middle is Surratt. And missing wide is Wagner. Set looked like it may have been a little too far inside, and that was the only direction he could go.
Yeah, if that happens, you probably need to take a little bit off of it. You're hitting it towards the center anyway. Let the center play the ball.
Jacob Surratt back to the service line for Ball State. Misses that one long. You can see off the contact. Oh, she gets the ace. Oh, call me wrong. That ball had close to no rotation on it.
None. But it contacted high, hit it downward, and that's what happens.
Well, Charlie, I don't know what that's like.
Oh, yeah.
From the service line, I'm a little short there. That's Surratt's first ace on the season. Rotman takes a rip and challenges that triple block and wins out.
You went right over the top with it. Had got good high contact. Hit off the middle, right to middle, we're back right corner where nobody was.
McFall going back to serve, floats it over towards Rogers. Quick attack and shooting that 31 over toward Braden Savitsky-Land.
Again, he said the route of the middle was right into the gap between the two blockers.
Lewis finding his rhythm early on here in set number 2 and 1, actually carrying on into number 2. Serves that one into the net because I jinxed him apparently, because I know I'm going to anticipate what Charlie's going to tell me.
Didn't say a word.
4 looking at 8 with Wagner going back to the service line. Wagner, overpass. Basilio with the overpass comes back and gets an overpass right back. Not exactly textbook ball there, but it still ends up being a point.
And then basically with no approach from both of them, Basilio just hits it off the outside blocker's right hand.
Jump serve. Oh, and Rotman does the splits to avoid getting hit by the ball. Point going to Stanford. And back to serve is Rotman. Rotman delivers down the line, picked up by Rogers. Machado shoots it out to Rogers and bounces it off of Snooey.
How about that 4-4? That was probably about the 5-foot line after he passed the ball. That was a great hit.
Savitsky-Land going back to serve. Drills it over toward Schmidt. Set outside over to Snooey, and Snooey pops the cap in the corner. Cross court by Carrera, and the overpass attack by Gant. Gant showing that setter's got a swing. Machado falls out of play. Kind of felt awkward, but he's coming up okay.
Yeah, the way he fell, it looked like it was something serious, but he hopped right up.
Well, the angle of that cushion on that standard over there pushed him a little bit out, so it kind of made his step kind of wonky when he landed. Lewis drills it off of Wagner, over dig, in pursuit, still good in play, set up and over, swatted up top by Rogers. Wagner goes outside over to Snooey. Snooey, D not actually lands down and in on the stuff block. Point going to Ball State.
Great play by Gant to go get that ball. It's on the other side of the net. runs behind, outside the pole, gets the ball, passes outside the pole, and then they hit it back over.
Now Mike Iandola went up to our R1, Sergio Gonzalez. I'm wondering what he's saying because he made the challenge, but they got the point.
Yeah.
And that brings Lucas Machado back to the service line. Machado winds up, a lot of pace on that spin serve, picked up by Rotman. On another shove, that's Teo Snui, who's making that his #1 weapon right now. Point going to Stanford, 8-11. Having some chirping, so to speak, with the Cardinals across the net.
Machado said something about the call. He didn't like it, and head referee called him over to say there won't be any conversation here.
This is not a dialogue.
No.
This is a monologue.
Yes.
Machado sets right side to Rogers. Rogers takes on the triple block covered by Basilio. Backs at Rogers again, and this time he does his shove. Rogers gets up so high with those long arms.
So look at him. So long. But he kind of it was like a tick for tack. You do it, watch me do it.
12 serving to 8. Rogers gets an ace with not a lot of pace. Dropping one on the deck for Rogers. That's ace at #2 of the night, 10th of the season. Low toss, and I thought that was another ace. He took a little off of that serve and made it into a hybrid.
Looked like it could have dropped, and it just carried a little too far.
And Snui back to the service line as his Cardinal team trailing by 4, 13-9. Big swing on the serve, pass by Basilio. It's off the net. Basilio gets it right back. Cross court, dig by Schmidt. Gant goes outside to Rotman, and he tries to tool the block, but this one lands down and in. So that's a double stuff.
Boy, that was a good hit, and the ball was in the air long enough. It was coverable.
And that was Lewis and Surratt doubling down on that outside block. Surratt back to serve. High toss. Goes into the net. 10-14. So we're taking a look over there at Jacob Surratt exiting the court, making way for his libero. And checking in is Carson Neisel, the 6'6" junior outside. Stanford still trying to string a couple points together here. Ball's passed by Rogers. Machado to Basilio. And welcome to the highlight zone.
That ball was set so fast. He had the gap hitter up, and he faked like he was staying to the gap and sent it just a little further outside to the antenna.
And
Basilio,
we've got an immediate timeout on the court here at any night. We've seen that already here after only 3 weeks of the young 2026 men's volleyball season.
Yeah.
Ryan Lewis continues with service, goes over towards Snui. Gant in the middle over to Carrera, dug by Rogers on the diving save. Lewis off speed, misses far too wide.
Tough ball to hit, coming over your shoulder from behind and trying to roll it to the deep line. Kind of lost track of the ball.
Going back to serve is Moses Wagner for Stanford. Wagner with 4 kills, hitting 125 and has 2 digs. Rogers, Machado back over to Lewis. Lewis splitting the seam. Point going to Ball State.
I like that set from Machado. Lewis just hit a ball long, and he went right back to him to show that he had confidence in what he could do.
And that brings Will Basilio back to serve for Ball State. Spin serve picked up by Snui, set in the middle to Carrera, and he delivers on the stop and pop. Carrera last night was one of those X factors because they could not stop the middle attack in Stanford's first match against Loyola.
Yeah.
It's really opened it up for his outside attackers.
That was his first kill tonight so far. Middle of the second game.
Looking at Ryan Duras, who's been subbed in for defensive purposes. Good pass by Cher Machado. Low or miscommunicated set. Overball picked up by Cher and swinging away as Rogers going for that high ball havoc. 17-12, and back in comes Alex Rodman for Ryan Duras. And that brings Braden Savitsky-Lynn to the service line for Ball State. Snooey, the Gant, blasting through the block on the 2-ball was Carrera, and Stanford changing up their offense a little bit there.
Yeah, they're getting the ball into the middle now.
As checking in, we see Luke Morrison, the 6'4" freshman serving and defensive specialist from Irvine on the Stanford side, trailing 4. Morrison, that southpaw jump serve. See if he does any damage. Picked up by Cher. Machado on the big to Basilio, and he goes for the tool off the block of McFall. 18-13. Carrera back to serve.
Basilio's hitting a lot better than he did last night. He's got 6 kills already.
Only 1 error, hitting .556. Machado takes a lot off it, picked up by Schmidt, outside overcharge. Snooey, he's stuffed up top. Gant back to Snooey. Snooey swings, and Basilio stuck a power out and would have been an out ball, unless it was he saw a touch off the block.
Maybe he thought there was a touch. He went for it hard, though.
.14 looking at 18. Gant back to the service line. Gant with 15 assists on the Cardinals side. They're hitting .250 as a team through 2 sets. Machado over towards Lewis, dug up and by Rotman, right side over to Wagner, and Wagner gets domed. Jacob Surratt and Ryan Lewis put up the 4 wall of fame.
That's a big block, and it was well set.
They just pressed over, and it came down just as fast as it was delivered. Rogers cross court over to Schmidt. One hand save by Gant, covered by Machado. Bump set by Scherer. Basilio looking for that deep area 5 shot. We're going to have our first challenge of the night. We're going to have a number 1 challenge, which is a touch on the block. Original calls, there is no touch on the outside attack ball by Will Basilio. Mike Iandolo and his Cardinals team claiming that there was a touch. That ball actually looked in, Charlie. If you look at that replay.
They were pretty sure. Ball State was pretty sure when it happened.
But it landed right at the intersection of the lines in area 5 in that corner. But they're looking for a touch because that they held up the number 1, which is touch.
Yeah.
In number finger gestures.
Yeah. 2 is in or out. 3 is net.
So play stands as called. Point going to Stanford. They pulled them forward 15-19. As Snooey continues with serve for the Cardinal. Snooey, 6 kills, hitting .333, and has a dig as well. And serves that one into the net. And Stanford just not having a very good time from the service line. 7 or make that 8 service errors.
To only 3 for Ball State.
And checking in for Ball State, number 21, Will Patterson for Jacob Surratt. Patterson, the 6'10 junior middle from Loveland, Ohio. Snooey takes a swing and goes off a Ball State defender. Didn't practice their dodgeball before coming into tonight's match. As you see, Patterson unable to get out of the way of that ball.
It's a hard, you got to make a decision really quickly there whether you're going to go or not go.
Rogers, Machado on the shoot set, and a textbook shoot ball play by Braden Savitsky-Lynn. 21 serving to 16. Lewis, high spin toss, cross court over to Schmidt. Broken play, trap set, poked over through by Rotman, and Machado signed, sealed, and delivered by Machado on that 2-ball. And a show of good sportsmanship by Machado over to Gant.
That's a very international method. When you hit a ball hard and it hits somebody, you go over and assure that they're all right.
We've got a timeout taken by Stanford, trailing 22-16. And with that, Charlie, you mentioned that Hawaii, Louis Sakanoko, Christian Tetrisky, for some reason, they're always the ones applying that shot to the upper shoulder or head on defenders, and they hit a very fast ball.
Well, especially Tetrisky. Charlie Wade says he thinks he hits the hardest ball in the NCAA. Sakanoko is just a good guy,
The happy Frenchman.
Yeah.
But our athletes here, Patrick Rogers has that same ability because he's got such a quick, whippy swing.
First day here, we started talking to him and had just a great conversation. He's a funny guy, pretty funny guy.
And of course, there are such incredible athletes here. If you take a look at the UCLA roster, Zach Rama has done that a couple times to a few attackers. And man, I'm surprised David Decker last night didn't do that to anyone, because that is one person who had a coming out party, so to speak, last night.
That arm swing is so quick, and he finds the seams in the block with that quick, gets through the block before they can close it.
As we come out of the timeout, Ball State with a 6-point lead, with Ryan Lewis going back to serve for the Cardinals. He bombs it over towards Rotman, overpass, and make that an ace for Ryan Lewis. And for Lewis, that's ace number 2 of the night, 5th on the season, 23-16. Lewis unloads, picked up by Schmidt. Bick over to Snooey, and Snooey returns the favor.
That Ball State block, all three of them were independently jumping. It was like a jumping.
The popcorn machine.
Popcorn machine. And he just found one of the many holes in it.
That brings Wagner back to the service line. Wagner, 4 kills, hitting 0 tonight with 2 digs. Winds up down the line, pass by Basilio, dumped up top. Machado getting some of his own. That brings us to set point Ball State, serving to 17.
Machado is run it. Just kind of set the whole thing up so that shot was wide open now.
Basilio, Schmidt, Gant outside of Rotman, off speed shot saved. Wing up top, and falls on the, we'll say, out of play.
That was a good play by Lewis, because there were 2 hitters right in a row that touched the ball, so it had to go over, so he tried to make it.
18 serving a set point number 2. Rotman back to serve for Stanford. Rotman over towards Basilio, and letting her rip is Braden Savitsky. Land for a point, and set number 2 going to the Ball State Cardinals as they go up 2-6-0.
Volleyball every day and had so much fun with it. And Glenn, as an assistant coach, was just like, we did everything together. And he had visions about how to look at the game that were different than anybody else that I'd ever been around, and thoroughly enjoyed the whole time. But he had things that he would talk to me about that he kept in his hip pocket. And once I went on with the national team, he took off and really put these things into play in Austin, Texas. And to give you one example of what he did, he developed club. First of all, there were no club sports in Texas. And so he figured out how to get the High School Sports Association in Texas, the UIL, to add club sports. And he did it with the governor of the state, quite honestly. He got that accomplished. Then we had all these teams. We had no place to play. So Glenn went out, bought equipment to install in every high school in the city of Austin, and then went and signed a contract to pay for renting their facilities. And that's how Austin became a volleyball power, because Glenn went out and did this. Well, then he took over the convention center, filled that up. Then he took over the Dallas Convention Center, and not only the whole convention center in Dallas, but he did that for 4 weeks. Think about that. Then he had a vision for boys volleyball, so he started boys volleyball. He started this event. He started this tournament here, 800 teams today. We had 371 guys come to the clinic that Karch was at, and the 4 teams you see playing. And it goes on and on. Glenn, and anything he made, he invested, he and Kathy invested back into volleyball, which is the most amazing thing. And so I think people need to recognize that this just doesn't happen by mistake. This is a planned thing, and Glenn threw his whole life into this. And his son Nathan and his daughter both played volleyball. His son's playing in Switzerland right now professionally, and he would love to be over there watching him play.
Well, this has been just a great experience to have you here, and for all these people to recognize what a great, humble, yet creative man that Glenn Litsky it was. Thank you, I think, Rob.
Well, we definitely want to extend our condolences to the Litsky family. I know that Kathy is watching, received some messages from her, and she's thankful for all the love and support that her and her family have received from everyone, and particularly those like Mick, who've been very close to her and near to her during this time. And she knows that this is Glenn's pride and joy, and we can honor him by continuing to make this event so big, so enjoyable, and to keep it growing. So
I'll just say one last thing, and I have to say this, but Glenn and I were really good together, but Glenn and Kathy were exceptional together. And they could just make things happen that I've never seen. And this is one of the things you're looking at. So, you know, be appreciative of all of Kathy's work here also. And she's trying to carry out all of Glenn's ideas and some of her own besides. So it's been, the Litsky family has been really special to volleyball.
Yeah, so, well, thank you, Mick. I appreciate you stopping by, and looking forward to finishing out the final day here of the First Point Collegiate Challenge.
It's been great, guys. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mick.
Good to see you, Charlie.
As always.
Yeah.
Always great to have legendary people alongside you here to make us seem that much better, because they're always fun to see, and at all the events, because they love and have a great passion for the game. As we got in front of us right here, and Charlie, you got...
I always enjoy Mick, because I can ask him at any time to evaluate what's going on in the game. He'll have his thumb on the pulse every time.
And with that, you have Stanford serving at 4-3, and that's Rotman on the serve. Machado to Basilio, throws it down, saved by Schmidt, and he sets outside to Snooey, and a broken play winner. Smart play by Snooey.
Very smart.
Swinging for the sky to tie it up at high fives.
You know, he took a little off of it too, which people don't understand how effective hitting is at different tempos.
Rotman puts a little more speed on it, and the dodgeball convention coming out here as Rogers ducks out of the way.
Yeah.
Dodge, duck, dive, dip, and dodge. The 5 Ds of dodgeball, Charlie.
You just make that up?
No, that's a great movie. Come on, Charlie. You know, I'm all about
know.
pop culture references.
Yeah.
Backs it over towards Wagner, and Wagner sending fire from the sky. Wagner picking it up and putting a little mustard on that right side attack.
Well, Wagner's not having a typical match. He's hitting 0. That's now he's in the positive hit category.
And that brings Reed Wainwright back to serve, inserted into the Cardinal lineup, and he misses wide. Point going to Ball State. Coach John Costi tweaking his lineup a little bit to see if he can get a win here to force a fourth set. Savitsky Lynn back to the service line for Ball State. Rotman. Ball's blocked in the middle by Surratt, and knocking it inside the block out of the right side is Wagner. As you see, Stanford going to Jacob Little Phillips for setting duties now. The freshman from Winter Park, Florida, stands at 6'2", Winter Park High School. Spencer by Little Phillips. Free ball coming over by Lewis, picked up by Wagner. Little Phillips with a one-hand dish, dug by Lewis. Machado outside to Rogers. Rogers goes high hands and gets the winner for a point going to Ball State. 8-7.
Rogers has all those shots. That's just all intelligence.
Or the beach game.
Yeah.
You shoot first and ask questions later. That's the beach saying.
Okay.
Tough spin serve. Little Phillips over towards Wagner, and double denial by Surratt and Lewis as they turn out the lights. Nine serving to 7. Lucas Machado winding up out of the end line. Goes to a hybrid pass by, I believe that was Rotman. Ball's blocked up top again by Surratt and Lewis. Middle attack, and blasting it is Gray Mandelbaum, who's also checked in. So both middles changed on the Stanford Cardinals side.
Impressed with Jacob Little Phillips. As a freshman, he's doing a lot of really sophisticated things.
Let's get a little showboaty with those one-hand sets as well.
Oh, that one back set, one hand. Even that little gap set was great.
Well, Coach John Costi has been really excited about him as he came into the program for his freshman season. Rogers serving for Ball State. Rogers 10 kills, 1 error, hitting a sizzling .692. Rogers unloads, misses long. Snooey made a step towards it and faked that he's going to take it, but let it go. But you got to be careful with those balls. They have a little tail on it. They start curving into players.
I say just get out of the way, take the point. They don't give you 2 because you made a good show.
Mandelbaum floats over towards Basilio. Basilio denied. 10-finger discount by the stash. Moswag or Moses Wagner.
You know, that's what his mom calls him. Moses Wagner.
Well, his home is on this court, and it's Moswag, Charlie. It's a stage name. Mandelbaum over towards Basilio. Basilio swings high, dug in the angle. Overpass knocked out by Surratt, dug by Snooey. Wagner off the top of the block, and Wagner back-to-back kills as he reaches his way into the hitting into the positive now. Wagner recording his 7th kill. That's Gray Mandelbaum delivers again. A good serve picked up by Scherer. Bick over to Rogers. He's blocked, and blocked like it's a set up top. And Basilio on the charity set winner with no block. Ties us up at 11s. Jacob Surratt serving for Ball State. Surratt 2 kills, 0 errors, hitting .400. Has a block and a dig as well. Little Phillips back over towards Snooey. He's denied, goes off a shoe. Rotman, he turns on Hulk mode as he swings as hard as he can off the block and gets the tool.
He says, let me hit it over the highest blocker in front of me. That's the middle.
Rotman bringing that bicep bomb off the block, but that dig off that stuff block by Ball State off someone's foot on the Cardinal side. 12 serving, 11. Wagner. Rogers on the pass. Machado in the middle. Savitsky Lynn dug up and over, covered by Scherer. Again, outside Basilio. Dug by Wagner, set by Schmidt outside to Rotman. Rotman dug by Rogers. Scherer in pursuit. Ball's kept in play on a fantastic effort. Free ball up and over. Wagner steps in on the free ball. Little Phillips thrown down at the net. Coming down the pipe is Reed Wainwright. Point going to Stanford. And there's a lot of boo birds in the crowd. But we have a timeout taken by Ball State, now trailing 13-11. Don't go away. We got more volleyball coming your way here on E11 here in set number 3, and a must-win set to force a 4th set. Served by Wainwright and picked up by Rogers. Denied at the net by Wainwright and Snooey.
Boy, there's a whole new energy on Stanford right now. I don't know whether it's the insertion of a new center or replacement middle with Reed Wainwright in there, but that whole energy is so much livelier.
Wagner going back to serve, 14 serving 11. Wagner unloads but misses a couple feet long, actually about 10 feet long. And the new look lineup on the Cardinals side has some youngsters running the show over there in Jacob Little Phillips and Reed Wainwright, a junior middle. Backs it over to Wagner, off the net, off the block, saved by Lewis, set by Machado, outside Basilio, off the net, and he misses long. Something's happening to Ball State's passing here in this set, and the serving hasn't really changed on the Cardinal side.
They, even in yesterday's match, they played so well against UCLA in the first 2 sets, and it just kind of, then the focus and level of their intensity kind of dropped off.
Ryan Duras serving for the Cardinal. Duras lets it go, but goes into the net. Point going to Ball State.
Boy, that's a way to sap that energy out, though.
Lucas Machado serving, 27 assists, 2 digs, a block, and 4 kills of his own in our offensive-minded setter on the Cardinal side. Ball's passed by Schmidt, set outside to Snooey, and Snooey with the molten tattoo on Ryan Lewis's knee.
Boy, the sets earlier in the match were a little inside and hard to do much with. These sets are right outside the antenna.
And going back to serve goes Luke Morrison, the freshman serving specialist from Irvine. Dropping an ace on the line. Point going to Stanford. Wow. And that lefty serve, that thing hooked in. I'm telling you, watching from the sideline, I thought out, and you could see the ball kind of turning in.
Well, lefty kind of coming across the ball. That's what'll happen.
It's his first ace of the season. He misses long. But you can tell there's a little more zip in the step of the Cardinal.
Absolutely. The Stanford Cardinal. Because we also have the
Cardinals.
Cardinals, okay.
The trees are the birds. What do you want to do, Charlie?
Trees and they go together, you know.
Savitsky Lynn winds up, goes down the line and drops an ace on the deck. Savitsky Lynn going thumb down on that jump serve ace.
He's a talented player. He does a lot of things well besides middle blocking.
That's his first ace of the night, second of the season. Also, that stash is definitely being commended. The little caterpillar legs above the lip.
Maybe in 2 or 3 months we can commit. Not yet.
It's not like Moses Wagner.
No, that's
or Jacob Surratt. I mean, we've got 15 looking at 17. What will Savitsky Lynn offer on this ball? He winds up and swings. Pass by Rotman. Denied up top. And Patrick Captain Rogers points on that stuff block.
Rogers just waited on it and then got his hands right on top of the ball. Setter had no choice.
That was a textbook stuff block and a lesson for the freshman setter, without a doubt.
Yep.
But I have to say, quite the run by Ball State to get back into this for the Birds, who were down by as many as 4.
To the tree.
Yeah, the trees were really picking it up, but the Birds are back flying again.
As it should be.
We're looking over at the Ball State coaching staff. That's Mike Iandolo and Brian Hogue, as well as Charles Norman. Strategizing, and the other side of the net just missed the crew of Spencer Wickens, Taylor Hammer, along with John Costi, discussing their strategy coming out of this timeout.
Spencer Wickens, we may not see him again because he's gone to join the women's team at Minnesota.
Well, we've seen a few great coaches leaving the men's side for the women's side. And Shane Davis of Loyola got a couple national championships, jumped over Northwestern, and then came back to Loyola.
Well, the Grand Canyon men's coach, Worley, is now at University of Kansas.
That is correct. David Hunt, Pepperdine Waves head coach, now over at University of Texas.
Yep, and seems to be enjoying himself.
I do believe there's a Ryan Ammerman out there coaching at Maryland, I believe.
Maryland, yes. I saw him. He's coaching a junior team here. He's here.
Savitsky Lynn over to Schmidt. Tight pass. Jacob, a little Phillips. And on the quick attack, and with a lot of confidence, is Gray Mandelbaum.
But little Phillips did the kick. See the kick on the way? Flipped his legs out.
18-16, and we are turning up the heat just a little bit more here in set number 3 as Jacob Little Phillips goes back to serve and spins it into the net. That had to be nerves because the way he's been playing. And there's a little extracurriculars on the court here because the R1, Sergio Gonzalez, wanting to speak to the team captains, Moses Wagner and Lucas Machado. I didn't see anything that would warrant a discussion, Charlie, but I haven't really been watching the interaction at the net wall.
Rob, I have to tell you, the method of talking over the net gets more and more undetectable as you get more mature.
Machado going back to serve, trailing by 1 at 17-18, the crunch time score. And Machado misses a long. The lack of snap on that spin, definitely the cause of that ball missing long. As we take a peek at Teo Snui at the service line, trying to get his Cardinals their first set win to force a 4th set tiebreak. Snui, a little side spinner. Big over to Basilio, dug by Snui. Little Phillips outside, Rodman. And we got a net violation on the Cardinals. I believe our second referee, Bill Forrester, directed towards Patrick Rogers on that net violation. Yeah. Let's see. Yep.
Yeah, came down.
All belly, and we got a timeout taken by Ball State. Do you hit the panic button if you're Coach Mike Iandolo?
No. They come back, come steady out, go one at a time. Limit mistakes. Play hard, but limit mistakes.
For point.
They're up 2-0. You still got the best hitter on the court with Rogers. Just wait, bide your time, go back to him. The serving's key now because every single point you need to just keep chipping away by forcing.
Well, last night Ball State against UCLA, they took set number 1 and they had their pedal to the metal and were in the battle in set 2, but you can see something happen in set 3. I don't know if it's a conditioning thing, a mental focus thing.
Well,
or
to UCLA's credit, you know, there were times last year they would lose like that. They'd get down first sets 1 and 2 and then didn't recover. Last night they recovered. They came back and played well, and it was hard for Ball State to maintain that intensity. They were so good in the first 2 sets, as you know.
Yeah.
And it kind of fell off in the 3rd set. And by the 4th set, it was kind of over.
It looks like Teo Snui is waiting for the first whistle for service by Sergio Gonzalez, our R1. We're ready to go, 2017, and misses long. Good timeout for Coach Mike Iandolo as Rogers goes back to the service line. Rogers on the evening, still only 1 error, hitting .667 with 11 kills. He's got 2 aces, 3 digs, and 3 blocks. And Costi trying to do a timeout here because we know that was about 2 feet long. At least from my view, it was about 2 feet long.
Yeah.
And as a quick review, less than, I'd say, 3 seconds.
Yeah, which is good. I'm so glad they're making these reviews as quick as they possibly can, because that's one of the things that slows the game down a lot.
Well, you'll notice there are no lines officials here. They're relying on the R1, R2, and then the video system here. And a service ace is an ace for Patrick Rogers as he throws one on the deck. For Rogers, that's ace number 3 of the night, 11th of the season. Rogers winding up with confidence and pace as he hits that one into the bottom of the net. Point goes over to Stanford. 21-19. Couple substitutions checking in. Back in Carson Neisel for the Cardinal. Neisel, no ace tonight. He got his first one last night against Loyola. Tight pass. Machado, one-hand save. Back row attacker or violation or illegal blocker called against Ball State.
If part of that ball heads over the net, if part of the ball's on the net and he's a back row player, you can't touch it. As long as the block, but all the block has to do is go up and grab it and touch the back row blocker.
Well, the crowd came to life with this substitution. Tyler Wint, now a local product, or has a big fan club here in the house. Wint on the perfect pass. Big to Rogers, and Rogers turning up the burner and throwing down. 20, looking at 22.
How about Wint, right off the bench, perfect pass. In rhythm, everything was in rhythm.
Still trailing by 2 as Jacob Surratt goes back to serve. Surratt, cross court, stepping into pass to Snooey, Little Phillips. Tipped by the block, dug by Machado. Bump set by Savitsky Lynn. And triple trouble by Wagner, Rodman, and Mandelbaum. Or correction, that's Wainwright. Wagner back to serve, and the Cardinal, or the Tree fans, feeling a little better with Wagner back to serve. They can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Machado shoots it. Savitsky Lynn, and he throws down. He's getting aggressive, calling for that ball on that shoot set. Ryan Lewis back to serve. Lewis on the evening, 8 kills, hitting 150. Ball's passed by Snooey. And Machado on the wall of shame, teamed up with Braden Savitsky Lynn.
What a great block.
And we got a timeout taken by Coach John Costi and the Cardinal. They still have a 1-point lead at 23-22, and the drama meter is kicking up a level.
You know, if you're going to be that high, Machado was so high, you could be early and just get over on top of it and stay there. A lot of times you need to wait a little bit, and because the hitter hits late in his arm swing. But that was a beautiful, perfectly organized block.
Well, you got to look at the coaching staff there. They're feeling it as they battled back into the set. You saw the surge of energy by the Cardinal with the new additions or the insertions into that lineup. But in the end, the big guns on the Cardinals side have really stepped it up here in the tail end as we are in the red zone.
You really don't want to lose this third set. Ball State does not want to lose this third set, because then you go to 4, and then it starts to be anything can happen.
Well, that's what they call a reverse sweep.
Yeah, well, that's
we don't want to start those.
One step towards a reverse sweep.
And looks like both teams are back on the court with Ryan Lewis back to serve. Will the timeout ice him? He looks calm and collected as they come onto the court. Same toss, big swing. Down the line, good pass by Snooey. Back set to Wagner. Wagner drills it off of Rogers, and that comes to set point. Stanford serving at 22.
There was a touch on the block, and that's why Rogers had to make a move for it.
Alex Rotman at the service line for the Cardinal. Will he get the winner for the set and force a fourth set? And no. Instead, Ball State has a chance at the service line. 23 serving the set point number 2 with Will Basilio back to serve. Basilio, only one ace on the season so far. Basilio, pass by Schmidt. Little Phillips, double stuff at the net, covered by Rodman. Back out to Snooey. Snooey tipped at the top. We got a net violation called against Ball State, and we are going to a fourth set as the Cardinal take the third, 25-20. We're getting ready to start set number 4. Patrick Rogers at the service line to kick us off. Rogers unloads, pass by Snooey. Little Phillips to Rotman. Ball's dug by Scherer, saved by Basilio. Lewis goes off speed, dug by Little Phillips. Schmidt right side over to Snooey, sets it over, picked up by Scherer. Over dig, covered by Mandelbaum. Back set over to Snooey, dug by Rogers. Back set by Machado, knuckled into the net off the swing by Ryan Lewis. I had nothing but a congestion of bodies in my screen.
Yeah.
Couldn't see who was getting the ball.
Yeah. Well, it looked like it was going over the net, then it didn't, you know.
What a way to kick off set number 4. Have the Cardinals been resuscitated to higher energy here in our fourth set? We will see as that outside attack by Wagner misses wide. For Wagner, that's attack error number 7.
Yeah, he's not having his normal night by any means.
2 serving to 0. Rogers still serving for the Cardinals. Rogers pass by Rotman. Little Phillips tipped at the net by Wagner, and Wagner delivers. Machado and Scherer almost collide in the middle there.
Yeah.
As you take a peek at Teo Snooey at the service line for Stanford. Snooey, the 6'8" senior outside from Berkeley, California, misses just long. Jacob Sred at the service line for Ball State.
Cardinal have 16 missed service errors. Ball State only has 10.
Little off-speed spin serve pass by Rotman in the middle over towards Mandelbaum, and it trickles over for the winner. As Gray Mandelbaum goes back to service, 6'8" junior middle from Los Angeles, California, Brentwood High School, right off the Sunset Strip up in LA. Dropping float serve for an ace. How deceptive was that? That thing's bottom dropped out as it cleared the net. For Mandelbaum, that's his first ace of the season.
It was a great serve.
Mandelbaum again, passed by Rogers. Machado over to Savitsky-Lin, dug by Snooey. Rotman on the off-speed attack, bounces it right in front of Coach Mike Iandolo. 4 serving to 3. And Mandelbaum wreaking havoc from the service stripe. Goes cross court over towards Basilio. Machado back over to Lewis. Trap set covered by Scherer. There's a collision underneath the net, but no call. Ball's knocked off the block by Basilio. Machado right side. Lewis going thumb down on the blast, and immediately Coach John Costley walks up to the R1 because Ryan Lewis had followed through his approach and collided with Alex Rodman in the previous play.
And I think it was, I'd love to see it again, but I think it was Ball State was under on
outside the sideline, but
still interference if they're under, if the middle line extended.
So Coach Costy not putting up too much of a fight on that ball, but Alex Rodman immediately tried to draw attention to it as soon as it happened, but play continued on. But the point remains with Ball State as we're tied at 4s. Served over to Rotman, and Basilio on the one-timer, but an ever so soft touch. He had to pull his hand back, just right on top.
Yeah, he timed it really well and then just took a little.
Ooh, almost that follow through.
Yeah.
So close. 5 serving to 4. Lewis drills an ace into the gut. Point going to Ball State. That's his third ace of the night.
He's so high. Long arms. He maximizes his reach and almost hits down at the ball.
6 serving to 4. That's his 6th ace of the season, 3rd of the night. Another one over towards Rotman. Little Phillips to Snooey, and Snooey's back row attack grabs the sideline. 5 serving to 6. And the Card serving and playing with a little more urgency than when he first started off sets 1 and 2, and you can see it. There's a definitely increased level of focus on their faces. Rogers, Machado, Basilio with a levitation at the left pin. 7 serving to 5, and Basilio making his presence known at the left side. Basilio now serving. This one misses long, not enough top spin on it. 6-7. Alex Rotman, 9 kills, hitting .389. Got 5 digs and 3 blocks. Rotman to Scherer. Outside over to Rogers. Rogers with a live arm at the outside and the twisted wrister. I really think we've seen every shot in this match by Rogers.
He's got a lot of them. It's very impressive.
Braden Savitsky-Lynn serving for the Cardinals. Lynn goes down the line. Overpass picked up by Lynn, set by Machado. And Rogers on a 2-hand shove winner.
Wasn't even a 2-hand shove winner. He almost just softened it and put it over slowly. Nobody was there.
Well, a lot of empty real estate right there as the Cardinal block jumping into that angle. 9 serving to 6. Snooey on the pass. Little Phillips tipped by the block. Back on the side, recovered by the Cardinal, recycled, knocking it inside the block. It's Moses Wagner. Machado made a valiant effort, but his body was so contorted, he couldn't change the direction quickly enough and get a paw underneath it.
I think Machado hit his chin. He got up rubbing and holding his chin.
Didn't split it open. If it was a sport court or anything else, that thing would be open.
That.
Well, there's a save for Terraflex.
This Terraflex is so nice.
Reed Wainwright back to the serve for Stanford. Tight pass, overpass, and on the one-timer, look at the freshman, Jacob Little Phillips, who's on the left side.
They switch block to get him, which, they're going to back set now. Wait and see. They set the D, but they switch block, and it just happened to come to him.
Well, they're not going to switch block this time. They actually
they may fake the switch.
Let's see what happens. Wainwright, jump serve misses long. Point going to Ball State. 4-point Birds, 10-8.
When you're moving all that blocking stuff around, you cannot miss your serve. You're counting on it being set somewhere. Got to make sure it's in.
Machado serving for the Cardinals. Ball's passed by Rotman, middle set over to Wainwright, and he misses long. Correction, Mandelbaum, and he misses wide. 11-8. Machado. Mandelbaum has to step in to pass. Great dig by Scherer on the blast by Wagner. Cuddy picked up by Snooey. Fake attack. Snooey swings out the block. Machado on the pickup. Scherer on the bump set. Rogers on the swing, and he's doing his thing. 12 serving 8. Patrick Rogers elevating.
He saw Little Phillips blocking over there. And he just knew he could go right over the top of him.
And Machado really trying to mix up his serves, not getting any rhythm, hits that one into the net. 9 serving 12. Jacob Little Phillips back to serve. Since coming in, 18 assists and 2 digs for the freshman from Winter Park, Florida.
He is a talented setter.
Good pass by Scherer. Machado on the shoots it. It was low, but Surratt actually is hit wide.
Yeah, it was
2-point
low.
game.
Surratt tried to change it and couldn't get his hand around it.
10 serving 12 here in set number 4. Cardinal obviously trying to force a fifth set tiebreak. Served off the cable. Rogers on the pass. Machado back to Rogers. Rogers rolls it over the block, covered by Schmidt. Little Phillips right side over to Wagner. Wagner shove, and it goes out of play. And last touch going to Wagner. Actually, they're calling a lift on the ball. And that's one of those things that's so subjective, I cannot even begin to explain how you would call that ball.
Well, how is that a lift? What happens a lot of times is you'll push into it, and then as you turn to throw it out of bounds, their hand leaves the ball, and you're touching it last.
Yeah.
I thought that's what they called, but apparently not. I called a lift on it.
13 served and a 10 after what will be called an attack error by the Cardinals. And Rogers off the cable, covered by Little Phillips. Left side set to Wagner. Wagner dug by Rogers in pursuit. Scherer recovers. Set up and over by Machado, picked up by Snooey. Little Phillips outside over to Wagner. Roll shot dug by Scherer, and Wagner able to get that little cocktail roll over the top of the block. 11 serving to 13. Snooey back to serve, and look at that finesse roll by Wagner out of the reach of Scherer.
Pretty good shot. Pretty good control shot.
Rogers, perfect pass. Machado to Rogers on the bick, and he goes off the block and out of play. And converging in the middle were all 3 Stanford blockers, and Little Phillips was the one on the right side, and he got tooled by it.
Yeah, barely. I didn't think Rogers was going to get to it.
14-11, Surratt over towards Rodman, back to Rodman on the give and go, dug by Rogers, overpass, and a welcome to the highlight zone. Moses Wagner, or Mo Swag, on the blast. And Wagner letting it be known that he has got a little pop in his swing. 12 looking at 14. Basilio on the pass, and Savitsky Lynn on the blast. Savitsky Lynn taking it downtown as we go into a timeout with the Cardinals leading the Cardinal, or the Birds leading the Trees. Lynn play by the teams on the court here in the First Point Collegiate Challenge, match number 3. Ball State with a 15-12, and Ryan Lewis at the serve for the Cardinals. Ball's passed by Snooey. Middle attack goes into the net. Little Phillips trying to force that middle. 16-12.
Yeah, the ball dropped before it got to him. It was too bad because Wainwright had a good angle to hit it.
Lewis back to serve for the Birds as he goes serving to the Trees. Lewis down the line over to Snooey. Is it an ace? No. Saved by Little Phillips. Rodman on the swing. Black back towards Rodman as he recycles his own ball. Wagner off the triple block, and Wagner beginning to find a groove here. He's now leading the Trees with 14 kills, now hitting .207. He had dropped below and into the negative at one point of our match.
Yes, not too long ago. Beginning of the third set, he was negative.
At one point had 7 kills, 7 errors, and now he's got 14 kills, 8 errors. My, oh my, a nasty Kong block by Reed Wainwright.
He just stepped right over into it, saw it coming, and got his hand over the top.
That, my friends, is known as a filthy block.
That was a good block. It's also known as the good block.
Moses Wagner serving at 14-16. Pass by Rogers, goes tight. Machado outside to Lewis. Lewis up, and away. I think Ryan Lewis kept on elevating on that ball. It was so high.
Well, Wainwright should have gotten over there. I mean, you got to know that's the guy they want to go to, you know.
Basilio hybrid over towards Rotman. Tip dug by Basilio. Machado left side Rogers. Rogers off the block. Snooey on the dig. Little Phillips on the 40, and Snooey goes off speed.
Smart shot. Coming out of the back row, that off-speed shot, especially if there have been some balls hit, works a lot.
15-7, got a substitution checking in. Ryan DeRoss in for Alex Rotman. DeRoss, the 6'2" outside hitter, winds up and swings, misses long. Point going to Ball State. And back in comes Rotman for DeRoss. As Braden Savitsky. Lynn goes back to serve for the Birds. Ball's passed by Snooey. Flicking it off the quick back attack over towards Wainwright on the winner. And looks like Jacob Little Phillips showing off a little swagger there.
That's a nice set, nice pattern run by Wainwright.
Point going to Stanford, 16-18. Checking in Luke Morrison for the Trees, trailing by a pair. Off the cable, picked up by Basilio. Machado back over to Lewis, going long distance. Set by Mandelbaum. Trash up top, swung at by Machado. And there's that aggressive setter stepping up.
You do realize that Machado is hitting at a pretty good.
He's hitting 1,000 right now. Five
for five
attempts.
Yeah. No errors.
19 serving to 16. Machado spins it for an out serve. I thought may have grabbed the intersection of that corner. Point going to the Cardinal. 17-19. Jacob Little Phillips back to serve. Now at 22 assists and 2 digs for the freshman setter from Winter Park, Florida. Little Phillips winds up and goes into the net. Point going to the Birds, 2017, as the Cardinals enter the red zone. And looks like Coach John Cossey is entertaining a timeout. And yes, he takes the timeout here deep into our 4th set. Charlie, for Coach Cossey, what are you telling your guys?
Well, making a run like this, you almost have you have to play not mindless, but aware of what needs to be done, but with just as hard as it's all on the table. Let it all go. Make some plays you haven't made before, but you need that big play right now.
Looking at Coach John Cossey on screen there, and the Stanford huddle. None of these teams have started conference. Actually, I lied. Actually, MPSF had one conference match. Is I believe Concordia versus UCLA, or
yes, Concordia versus UCLA already played.
So there's one MPSF match. Otherwise, there have been no other conference matches started in the MIVA, or the Midwest Intercollegiate Volleyball Association. But it's coming up quickly enough here as we are going to be reaching the end of January and coasting into February.
Yeah.
Some conferences bigger than others, but the MIVA is one to watch. I think it's going to be, we say it, at least on the podcast and on every year, we're seeing more and more parity, and it still remains the same.
There's a lot of good teams that could win the MIVA.
I mean, the MIVA has McKendree, Ball State, Ohio State, PFW, Loyola, Lewis, Lindenwood. I mean, if I forgot anything, it's just I'm rattling off the top of my head here.
Yeah, that's a lot of teams right there.
Rogers out of the timeout, winds up, pass by Schmidt, bump set by Little Phillips. Wagner on the broken play, triple block by the Cardinals. Free ball picked up by Surrett, set on the big Rogers block, chicken wing dig, saved by Lewis. Joust, one out top by Basilio, set by Little Phillips. Moswag, Scherer, and Moswag with a put away, and he may have kicked out and hit Lewis, went over to check in on him. Good sportsmanship, but man, what action on that play, as you see right there. A little, I don't think there's any contact, but he slipped anyways, and Moses Wagner went in to check in on him anyways. But Lewis lightly shaken up, some perspiration or sweat on the court at that side.
Bashir got hit in the back row also.
On the cross up by Rogers and on the defensive
they
play.
were both going for the ball, and Rogers ran right over him.
18-20 Rogers, dime pass back over to Lewis. Lewis denied, and Rodman putting up a wall of shame. That is going to be one of those textbook blocks. That, my friends, is getting posterized.
Boy, he waited, and he knew right where he was going with the ball. He was going to look cross, go line, took the line away, and turned it straight down.
19 serving at 20, and that's one of those blocks. And Rotman knew it and just gave a quick stare because he knew, turned right around.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of blocks, one of my favorite blocks at this tournament last year.
Get up, has a way to get up, and once he leaves to go up, he's in the air a long time.
Mm-hmm. 19 looking at 20 out of the timeout. Snooey at the service line for the Cardinal. Snooey 14 kills, hitting .367. Scherer on the pass. Outside Basilio. He goes off speed on a wonky poke shot, kind of.
Pretty smart. Take a little off that, just drop it in front like that.
21-19 is an off-speed topspin shot. As we see coming in again for serving purposes, Will Patterson for Jacob Surrett. And Patterson is 6'11" or 6'10" and hits this hybrid with nasty dance on it, and he gets it onto the cable and stays on the Ball State side. And got another substitution for Stanford. Back in comes Carson Neisel, and back in for the Birds is Jacob Surrett for Will Patterson. Neisel back to serve for the Trees. Neisel looking to tie it at 21s. Good pass by Basilio. Machado tipped in the middle by Savitsky Lim. 22-20.
Both teams are running the middle with no worries. They know they'll go down.
Wainwright checks back in. Mandelbaum checks back in on the Cardinal side. And exiting for Ball State, Will Basilio. Checking in for the first time for Ball State is Jason Harris. Harris, the 6'6", redshirt sophomore outside from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Lewis takes a little off it. Ball's passed by Snooey. Wagner by the block, dug by Lewis. Machado goes back over to Lewis. Lewis over the block, dug by Schmidt, up and over. Scherer on the overpass, and clamping down up top was Wagner. And he celebrates after that timely block along with Mandelbaum. And back in comes Basilio. Exiting is Harris.
See how fast Wagner grabbed that ball. He wasn't going to let it go off the net or anything. As he grabbed it,
he's serving. He's like, I got the mojo going.
Yep.
Pass up and over. Picked up by... And we have a beyond the net violation called on the Ball State side, and we're tied 22s. And turn up the drama meter, Charlie.
I told you, let that third set go, and then the fourth set.
And Wagner, how big now is that block by Wagner and him running to get the ball to go back to serve?
And serving it quickly, so keep your momentum going and getting it in, which is the key part of it.
Mike Iandolo takes a time out to hopefully slow the Swag run with the Trees as the assistant coach Brian Hogue instructing his team on the bench on the Bird side. And these coaches are putting in their time right here as you look at Spencer Wickens, Taylor Heyman, and John Cossey discussing what the strategy should be coming out of the timeout.
At 22-22, this is when it really gets fun. Because now you're basically playing the game to 3. So the points are so much bigger than they are when it's 6-6.
Twos across the board in set number 4. The Birds first back on the court. Trees ready to step out of their huddle, and we shall see what the drama meter will go to here, all tied up at 22 apiece. Moses Wagner, the senior opposite hitter from San Jose, California, bringing his boys on a 3-point run. 22-22. Low toss, off speed, share, perfect pass. Machado in the middle, and a paintbrush attack by Savitsky. Lynn sneaks inside the block.
He hit it so late in his approach that Wainwright was already over and on the way back down. See how that is? Snuck it through.
And we have the timeout now for Stanford. The ice timeout, the do or die situation for the Cardinal. Now trailing by 1. And what do you think, Charlie? Is there actual discussion happening, or is that just to shut them down, hopefully out of the timeout?
No, they're saying there's something. They recognize the block that Ball State has. They're going to run something to try and capitalize on that. Whether it's to get the ball to Wainwright on a misdirection into a gap, or to set Wagner out of the back row. There's a bunch of different options based on what the block is that they'll choose to do.
Well, if you look at the box score, Patrick Rogers, 16 kills, 2 attack errors, 560. Wonder where they're going.
Yeah, but they're serving.
And then on the other side of the net, Moses Wagner, again, coming up from a sub-zero to be hitting 250 with 16 kills. And Teo Snui right there, 14 kills, 367. And Alex Rotman, a quiet 9 kills, but he too is hitting 350.
Yeah. So as I said from the very, very beginning, we've seen some great offense this weekend. All 4 teams.
23 serving 22. Basilio goes down the line to Rotman. Set by Little Phillips, and cross-court blast by Rotman finds the floor. We're tied at 23s.
Boy, it's nice. Rotman was, he had so much, you knew he was going to be good, but he always had these injuries, and now he's really playing well, healthy.
Well, they were subbing in DeRoss to serve for him, and they're keeping him in for this one.
They've already used DeRoss his one-time in.
Rotman to Scherer. Machado, Lewis over the block and popping a cap in the corner. And that brings us to match point Birds serving at 23.
22. 24-22.
Savitsky, Lynn back to serve. Set point Ball State. 24-23. Balls passed tight, saved by Little Phillips. Wagner out the block, recovered by Savitsky. Lynn, Machado outside to Rogers, and Rogers for point, set, and match as the 16th ranked Ball State Cardinals defeat the number 11th ranked Stanford Cardinal 3-1, 25-17, 25-18, 23-25, 25-23. Charlie, your thoughts on our First Point Collegiate Challenge match?